Welcome to another edition of Back Talk, brought to you from the Southeastern Studios in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Each episode, you'll hear from board-certified physicians as they explore the latest in medical procedures that are now helping get more and more people out of pain and back to their active lives.
We have to be careful what we talk about because, you know, the patient's privacy is utmost important, and we have to be professional. But at the same time, you know, we do, I think, have a good time in the operating room in the, you know, before and after cases, and I think that being able to be to a certain extent relaxed in the operating room really helps me to do a better job, right?
For sure.
Because I think, you know, and that's one of the things about, you know, having conversations in the operating room about the case, or you know, are you feeling good today? Are you up for helping me out, and that sort of thing, and just the camaraderie that we have, I think, really sort of, for me at least, relaxes me when I need to be relaxed. It's not too much, right? You know, we're not in there. You know, doing a stand-up routine or something
Listening
like that.
Soft jazz.
Yeah, and actually, you know, the music thing is kind of interesting. I mean, I know a lot of surgeons that listen to music, but we don't tend to do that. And I think the music, I agree with that. I think it can be a little bit distracting, and potentially distracting for other people in the operating room, the staff, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think when you engage in a conversation about a particular, you know, what you're seeing in the operating room, and just being a little bit relaxed about it, I think it's a good environment, you know, in general. But, you know,
I think it's always good to have somebody who's done it and seen it, and done it and seen it, and done it and seen it, to come help me in my specific situation,
right?
To help, you know, push me, not in an unsafe territory, but like, hey, this is how you get better. This is how you get this accomplished.
Right.
This is how this is a safer move to get these things done. So I think the relaxed part of that for me is not necessarily that, you know, it's the conversation or just the presence of you guys being there, you know, helping in each of those scenarios.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a good environment, and it won't be long before you're sort of in that same situation where somebody comes in that's younger and less experienced than you. And you're going to be that person for somebody else, and it's a fun experience. I mean, sometimes, you know, I'm sure I'm a pain in the ass, you know, that you have to deal with, but I think, you know, it's good, and I you know, I might not react immediately well to being challenged, you know, in the moment, but I do appreciate being challenged by all of you guys, and asking me to sort of justify what I'm doing, or
for sure,
or I just think it's a really unique environment.
I think that's how bad habits can come into play. If you're in a practice where you're by yourself,
for
and
sure,
nobody's watching you operate,
and we've
a slippery
seen
slope.
We've obviously seen that. You know, we you know, we're in a practice that has a pretty big catchment, and we get patients from all over the state, and sometimes further than that, and unfortunately, we see some cases that you know, where you're really scratching your head as to what the person was thinking. And I think, you know, I don't think there's anybody out there that's gone through training and been certified and that really is malicious.
Sure.
You know, I think
Agreed.
In general, everybody wants to help and do the right thing. But I think one of the ways in which you get some surgeries that are questionable is, like you said, is that you're siloed, you're sort of by yourself, and maybe you've been by yourself for a few years,
right?
And you go down a path and develop habits that you don't know, you don't personally know, are maybe not the best way to go about it, and,
right.
you have no frame of reference,
sure,
right? And you just can't get away with that around here.
No,
you know,
somebody's going to be asking questions like, "Why are you doing that? What was that move? What's going on?" Yeah, that's not flying.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, and you're from Kentucky, right? You were born and
raised
Louisville.
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 Yeah.
They sell shirts that say it like you're drunk on bourbon, so it's Louisville.
Yeah.
Kind of blur it all together.
So we've talked about this before, but I did my training in Kentucky and in Lexington, and obviously there's a healthy rivalry between Lexington and Louisville.
Oh yeah.
And boy, training was just brutal for me, and I'm sure it was hard for you as well. But I was shocked at how cold it is in Kentucky.
It is kind of surprising.
Coming from Charleston,
they get all 4 seasons, real all 4 seasons. Yep.
Like
it gets really hot and really cold.
So my best story about residency is, or one of my good stories about residency, I should say, is, I had it timed, like rounds started at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So for everybody, like rounds are where the residents who are basically living in the hospital, but you get to go home sometimes to sleep. You show up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you see all the patients in the hospital. And in our case, it could be 75 to 100 patients that we would have to see and then report how they're doing, obviously, to the attending surgeons. And so our round started at 6, and I lived probably, I want to say, 1.5 miles from the hospital. So I had it timed where I could wake up at 5:50.
That's cutting it close.
I could get in the shower. I would jump up. I would get in the shower. I would brush my teeth in the shower.
Nice.
I'll use a medical term, micturate in the shower, just so it's not too preposterous. Go to and take care of business. And then I would get in the car and I would be at the hospital at 6 o'clock.
That's wild.
Okay. And I'm not kidding about this. And so if anything happened that deviated what I was able to do, then I would be late to rounds.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And so I remember, again, bringing the cold into it.
There it is.
So I got up one morning, got in the car, 5 minutes to get to rounds, and I probably had a half an inch of ice on my windshield, and it was like 15 degrees, and it was not coming off unless I had a chisel, or I'd let the car sit there for however long to
which
heat up.
You didn't have that time.
And so what did I do? I rolled down the window, I stuck my head out the window, and I drove all the way to the hospital.
Ace Ventura style.
Yeah, with wet hair. And by the time I got to the hospital for rounds, my head was frozen solid.
That's
and
perfect.
It was just unbelievable. So, the things that we do.
Oh yeah.
So,
that's impressive. That's commitment. That's impressive commitment.
Yeah, Kentucky was way too cold, but it was a good time. We enjoyed it, and I was there for 6 years.
There you go.
So,
do you miss it?
Yeah, we went back. My daughter looked at University of Kentucky for college. She decided not to go, but she looked at it. So, How about when's the last time you were back there?
I had to go back for some family stuff a few months ago, but my favorite time to go is either in the spring or the fall. And I just miss the hills sometimes and the leaves changing and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if your daughter went to Keeneland during the fall, that's a tough way to say no to Lexington.
Yeah,
they'll get you that way.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have resident mates that stayed in Kentucky or?
Not a ton. I trained in Texas once I left Kentucky after med school, and so most of my friends are either still in Texas or kind of went everywhere.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of med school buddies still floating around. Unfortunately, unless they're listening to the podcast, I'll reach out.
Yeah, I don't think that's likely, but anyway, well, good. Well, so I think we'll maybe get a couple of the other guys to come in here and chat a little bit.
Tag in.
But we'll do this again.
There we go.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Back Talk and learned something new. Look for other podcasts from Southeastern Studios as we explore the latest in medical procedures that are helping more and more people living in pain get back to their active lives.